Hey, good morning, girl. How are you doing today? Good morning. I gotta say good morning twice. It's how I wake up in the morning. By repeating myself. I don't know. I hope you're doing well. Today is the first day back from spring break, and I hope you're up and at 'em. My guess is that you're already up and probably getting ready for school, and you might be on your way to school soon. I'm on my way to work and figured I'd make a little message to you and wish you a happy day at school, one that's productive, one that's enjoyable. I hope you enjoy your sandwich. You mentioned to me via text message the other day that your household makes bread, homemade bread for sandwiches that you prepare for lunch in your lunchbox, and that's nice. I really like that idea. I think my guess is that you might have a bread machine, and that sounds like a pretty neat idea. I think I could get into that. Having my own bread, I might want to look into that. Um, Now I tend to buy my bread from the grocery store, and the reason I like it, one of the big reasons I like it, is because the bread is pretty low calorie. It's sometimes bread is just a tool that helps you eat stuff that you want to eat. Like say peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Without using bread, eating the peanut butter and jelly combination would not be that easy. I guess you'd have to scoop up the peanut butter and jelly with two separate spoons, right? You wouldn't want to use the same spoon. See, it's just logistically difficult to eat a peanut butter and jelly without bread. Yeah. The same goes for peanut butter and honey. Same goes for a lot of things. Bread is just an amazing tool that allows you to sort of handle a lot of hard to handle foods, and it's sort of like gaskets for your fingers. I mean, from an engineering perspective, gaskets are very useful. They prevent leaks. And that's exactly what bread does for peanut butter and jelly. Bread prevents the peanut butter and jelly from leaking through your fingers. Absolutely. I have never really thought of sandwiches like gaskets, but they are. Oh man, I had an amazing day yesterday. I went dancing, met up with some beautiful people in San Luis Obispo, and had a really enjoyable time. Afterwards, I walked around San Luis Obispo and I went to the Barnes and Noble bookstore. Boy, I sure do love those stores. I had such a good time just hanging out in the Barnes and Noble bookstore. Man. And while in there, I wanted to buy like this and that and this and that. And there was a book. I mean, there's always like one or two books that I just want to take them home. Here's the thing. I would I have this idea about books sometimes that, oh yeah, I'll totally read it. And I take them home and they just hang out on the shelf all day long for days and days at a time. Why does that happen? You know, I don't know. As a mind, as a brain, my mind has interests. It develops interests over time, and then those interests fall away. What is that all about? I don't know. I don't know. I develop interests and then those interests fall away. The same is true with habits. Like I develop good habits and then those good habits fall away. Like today I noticed something interesting. I made a distinction about my behavior. And you know me, I'm always focused on productivity and being effective in the world. And one thing I realized about being productive is that quite often it happens when I'm standing up, which is interesting. Particularly, and not only that, but not only when I'm standing up, but when I'm standing up and writing things down. I just noticed that, like when I go weightlifting, I'm standing up and writing things down. When I'm in the kitchen, say, preparing a meal like breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I'm standing up in the kitchen, preparing food and writing things down. Making annotations about recipes or doing some calorie counting or whatever. Quite often writing things down. When I'm uh, pulling together like a to-do list, when I'm getting stuff done just prior to a trip, say, I'm walking around doing stuff and I'm writing things down, right? I've got a to-do list or a checklist of stuff that I've got to do, and I tick off each line of the to-do list as I do them. So I just noticed that when I'm at my most productive, I'm standing up quite often, doing stuff, and almost anything qualifies as stuff. And I'm writing stuff down with a dry erase marker or a pen or a pencil on some kind of pad of paper. And that's a really interesting observation for me, because it sort of indicates to me that if I want to be productive in the future, or I want to sort of encourage productivity at a certain time, by standing up and starting to write stuff down, I think I prime myself, prime my brain, prime my body for being productive. And I can get a lot done. And in fact, today what I did, interestingly, is I had my breakfast standing up today. And one thing I found about the meal was that the meal went faster. It was a fast. And, this idea of stand-up meals, I don't have stand-up meals very often. Usually most of my meals are sitting down. I'd say 98% of my meals I eat sitting down. And, that's been my way for years and years and years. But I kind of like the idea of a stand-up meal. It doesn't happen very often. It's not very common. It happens on occasion, usually when I'm, wanting to get something done. There's always a purpose behind it. But I did notice that my stand-up meal didn't take very long. It took just a few minutes. And it was over. It was done with. And then after that, I was involved in doing something else. Like I washed the dishes in my kitchen right afterwards. So anyway, I'm intrigued by this whole idea of standing up and writing things down as a means to sort of signal my body and behavior to be more productive. Yeah. I wonder, what are some things you've noticed about your productivity? When are you the most productive? And I'm curious about what you do that is productive for you. Some people, I don't know, some people are very artistic, and for them, productivity is about making headway on a painting that they're working on or a pencil drawing that they're working on. For others, being productive is about reading a lot. Maybe they have an interest in a subject, or Or maybe being productive is about learning a language, making flashcards. You know, for different people, I think, have different ideas about what makes them productive. And anyway, so yeah, I tell you, I really did enjoy going to the Barnes and Noble. I forget how much I enjoy bookstores. It's nice to be reminded. It's kind of funny. I was thinking, when I was a kid, I used to work at my local library, and I worked in the stacks of this huge 1.2 million volume library. And I worked in various capacities as a reference librarian, or sort of an assistant to the reference librarian. I worked on the circulation desk, and I worked putting books back on the shelves and organizing books. I spent a lot of time around books. And I remember sort of standing in the midst of 1.2 million volumes of books and periodicals, and just feeling just so like hopeless that I would ever make any headway reading all these books. And of course, it was true. I wouldn't even be able to read 1% of the books available at the library. Now that I'm older, I feel exactly the same way. And I feel that the game is harder now because every year, even more books are published. I mean, I don't know how many millions of books there are, but every year they publish more of them. More books. Like, how am I'm going to fit all this experience in my brain? It kind of makes me wish that, what was it? Keanu Reeves, he was in the Matrix movie, and in it, there was this fantasy learning that he would do. He would like learn kung fu in 20 seconds. In a way, I would like to sort of have that ability as it relates to books and book learning. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if I could just pull together reading 100 or 1,000 books in 30 seconds or something like that? That would be amazing. Stunningly, mind-bendingly amazing. Maybe in the future something like that will happen. But today, reading a book is an investment of 15, 16, 17 hours. And that's just pure reading. That's not even taking breaks. Some books are an investment of many days, many weeks, even many months. So, the human brain. And you know what? A person can read something like one time, and depending on, say, the quality of the book and the quality of the material, how well ideas are linked together, how profound those ideas are, retention of that information is, it can be different for each book. And, I think ideally, wouldn't it be amazing that if we could read each book, say, 3-4 times, with a little break in between, so that we could truly memorize the book. We could truly know the book. There have been a lot of books that I've read that I just really don't clearly remember the content of the books. Even the books that I've read, even the few books that I've read. What's that about? I know. It's kind of funny. I think there's this assumption that when you read a book, you know it, right? You know what's, say, in between the covers, the front cover and the back cover. But, I've sometimes been surprised at how little I retain from the books that I read, even if I might enjoy them. Like, for example, I read a book recently, a fiction book. What was it? White Fang? I think I read White Fang, right? The classic. And no, I just listened to the audiobook, actually, now that I think about it. And maybe that had something to do with it. But my retention of that book was not that strong. I think what I really need to do is, when it comes to both books and audiobooks, review the material once or twice. Really, there ought to be a test at the end of every book, or even a test at the end of every chapter of every book, so that we can sort of recall the information in it. Now, I have there's an influencer on YouTube who I enjoy watching. She's like a study vlogger. She records her study sessions and talks about being studious and learning. And she does something really interesting. She writes little essays about the books that she reads. She'll write a 5-minute essay, or maybe a 15-minute essay. I actually like that idea. I think that's a great way to sort of get that information in some kind of coherent whole. But there's an issue that relates to that. And that is, she types these essays, which makes a lot of good sense. I think typing is the way to go. But if I do a lot of typing, my hands, I already do a lot of typing at work. Typing emails, typing documents. That's what I do. So I'm already spending an hour or so typing every day. To come home and then do some more typing as I read a book to sort of get that book knowledge instilled in my brain. That's a lot more typing. That's maybe an additional hour of typing. And I'm not sure I could double the load of typing on my fingers and my hands and have that be okay. I already am slightly prone to carpal tunnel syndrome, and I'm not necessarily inclined to risk any symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome just to sort of type essays that, say, aren't required for a class or anything like that. I guess one thing I could do is I could write out the essays with a pen. That is a possibility. In fact, I do have an iPad Pro, and that iPad Pro has an Apple Pencil that it uses, and I might be able to, longhand essays about the books that I'm reading. That could possibly work. I could definitely write statements, like summary statements, with the Apple Pencil using an app like Notability or Book Notes. That could work. Hey, thank you for helping me work out that possibility. I always am looking for new ways to synthesize information and help me retrieve that information in a way that makes sense. There are lots of software programs out there that are helpful in that area. Like Quizlet is actually a really good program that's out there. It's an app that I've got on my iPad Pro, and I really haven't had to use it so much. The welding class I'm taking right now, it does not really sort of, not necessarily like a highly information focused class. Not like, say, biology or chemistry or any of those classes. It's more of a practical application class. So I haven't used Quizlet in a capacity that, um, it might be used for most effectively. But maybe sometime in the future, maybe next semester. Actually, I've already established that I'm going to be taking a sewing class this summer. Maybe this coming fall semester. I was thinking about taking an electromechanical class next semester, like a robotics and building class, or maybe even a software class like AutoCAD or something like that. Photoshop. I would love to take a Photoshop class. Let me tell you. I'm also itching to take a math class. And I wonder how you're doing in math these days. What's been going on in your math class? Are you focusing on algebra now, or is your focus more geometry? I'm kind of curious about how your math classes are going. I wonder if you've covered trigonometry and the unit circle and are working on sine and cosine, tangent. Now that is some amazing stuff. And I'd like to sort of, I don't know, track your progress in your math and science courses. That would be amazing. Right now, in fact, I'm reading a biology textbook myself. I picked one up from Amazon. It's on my Kindle. And right now, I'm reading just the first chapter of the biology textbook, enjoying a little bit of exposition related to hypothesis making, right? How science works, right? The scientific method is what the topic is that I'm reading about. Good stuff. I'm glad. What I like about the treatment of the scientific method in this textbook is that it's talking about what scientists do in a very practical way. It's not this abstract idealization. I like how it talks about the influences of society and the goals of scientists. And, it sort of integrates the whole story, the whole picture when it comes to the scientific method. It's, yeah. Sorry for my yawns. So today, I titled this message with the question I want to answer. And the question is, did a sibling or childhood peer ever tease or torment me? And share the details. Okay, so I came from a family with 6 kids and I was the eldest. That means I was the oldest child. And so if there was any kid who was doing the taunting and the torturing, it was me to my younger brothers and sister. Now, that of course wasn't always the case, but I think it was largely the case. And, today I actually am feeling quite regretful about that behavior that I displayed as a child. And I've actually, years ago, I have apologized to my younger siblings for my teasing behavior. It's not something I would ever do today. Certainly not in my better judgment as an adult. I wouldn't engage in it. I sometimes, of course, tease my brothers and sister all the time, but it's very playful teasing. The intent is clear. When I was a little kid, like when I was 10 years old, Teasing was more of a profession. I took it a little more seriously. Uh, so, so now the question is written in such a way that it asks whether I was teased or tormented as a child. Whether I was teased. And, I could say pretty confidently that my brothers did tease and torment me too. Um, and, that's just normal. We teased and tormented each other. And, I really value having had that experience. It's kind of funny. As an adult, when I look back on my childhood, I really do have a sense of how idyllic my childhood was. Now, I don't think it was actually as idyllic as I imagine it, but when I reminisce about it, I mean, all I can think of is really the positive things. I mean, I could think of a few negative things if I tried, but generally, I can only think of really positive things, stuff that just makes me proud and happy. And a lot of it was just this peaceful play that I enjoyed a lot of the time. I mean, just huge amounts, really stunning amounts of peaceful play. I just feel so grateful to have had it. I mean, it's just stunning. It really just blows me away when I think about all the time that I spent just walking around and playing near the stream and catching fish and digging for worms and, oh my gosh, riding my bike down the hill and just on dirt roads and hiking through the mesa and sort of trying to avoid the cactus under my feet and walking through the sagebrush. And I mean, I just did so much trekking. I know how I would get up on fallen trees and play pirates, and mostly with myself, but sometimes with others, I guess. It's a childhood that is very Tom Sawyer like. And Em, when I think about your childhood, it was so different, so incredibly different. I mean, I would literally in the mornings, I would just leave the house at like 8 a.m. and just walk out the door and just I would be gone for 3 or 4 hours. And then I would return, have lunch, and then leave the house again for another 3, 4 hours. Come back, rest a little bit, have dinner, and then maybe even leave the house again during the summertime for an hour or two and play, and then come back home and then rest up and then go to sleep. And I had days and days and days like that, where I would just spend a lot of it just making tree houses and golly. And and then I contrast that to, what I think that, well, thankfully, what I'm really thankful is about the fact that about where you live. You live in Vandenberg Village. And the fact is that is an amazing place to grow up. I mean, you've got the golf course there nearby, and then you've got just all of the Burton Mesa Preserve. I mean, just I really hope that you're taking advantage of hiking in that area. As a person who's into track and field, I do have a sense that, you're enjoying your time outdoors through running and jumping and throwing stuff and hopping. And, that makes my heart glad that you've got some open space to run around in. So I'm really glad for that Burton Mesa Ecological Reserve. I have a feeling that I hope you really are exercising your time in that ecological reserve and hanging out, digging holes and playing in the dirt and playing in the mud. And, I want that for you. I really want that for you. And I hope you're walking to school. And I mean, you could take the bus, sure, but I hope you're walking to school and doing all that good kid stuff. Good, clean fun. So I was talking about teasing and teasing by brothers and siblings. Yeah. And that how I did most of the teasing. I think I did most of the teasing. I'm so thankful that I took the time out to apologize to them. Thing is, I don't think they remember half of how I made their lives more difficult. One trait I had when I was younger was that I was pretty competitive. So I set up these arbitrary races and challenges. Like, can we hop from this chair to that chair? How high can we jump? Or can you fall from this height? I was always making up little games like, let's push this ball with a stick all the way down the hill, that kind of thing. Or can we get into this tire? And in fact, I remember we had a hill. Basically, it was a slope, and it was very gradual. It was only about 10-15 degree slope, and maybe it was as high as 20 in some places. No, it was just 15 degrees. And my dad, of course, he was a building contractor, and he had tires around. And I remember my brothers and we found a tire just lying around, and we would get into the tire and roll down the hill in the tire, one after the other. I mean, that was a lot of fun. We had that outside our home. Golly. I just had an amazing childhood. On a scale from 1 to 10, I think I had a childhood of a 10 compared to others. It's pretty awesome. And even though I fretted about going to church all the time, it did teach me a lot about how to study and how to learn. And I was exposed to a lot of words. And I think that helped me in school. I was focused on learning and reading and studying. That was just normal for me. Now, as a kid, I found that really tough to do because I was a kid, right? I had lots of different interests. I was interested in playing outside mostly. Who wants to stay inside and read words on a piece of paper? But anyway, I was compelled to do that. And one thing I also learned how to do was sit down in church quietly. Now, I think a lot of people don't sort of consider that as a skill set, but sitting down for long periods of time and doing so in a peaceful and sort of restful way is a skill that I think not a lot of people have. And I really used that skill to my advantage through, I've exercised that at my workplace. Turns out sitting around doing work is just a basic part of getting work done. And I just have this ease when it comes to sitting down in a relaxed way. So here I am boasting about how good I am at sitting down. Yep. What can I say? To me, that is a substantial boast as a young boy who spent a lot of time outdoors and was probably really, really active. Of course, that's a double-edged sword. Enjoying the time that I sit down and spend sitting down can be a big problem for an adult human being whose whose health is a function of their activity level. So anyway, I guess I don't have a lot to say about being teased as a kid. It just goes along with childhood, and I'm not sure I have a lot to say about it. One thing I am interested in talking about is how I spent yesterday. Yesterday I spent time in San Luis Obispo. I went and did some ecstatic dancing, and then afterwards I walked around the town a little bit. And in fact, I walked around the town with my camera. I've got a Canon M50 mirrorless camera, and I took some photographs. And in fact, might be a good idea for me to go check out those photos. And I took some photos. I did some urban photography, and that's fun. I get a kick out of that. I'm glad I took my camera out. And one thing I realized that I didn't take any selfies. Why didn't I take any selfies? I don't know. It's funny. So, what else did I do yesterday? Oh, I went to the Apple Farm restaurant. Actually, I think it's the Apple Farm restaurant and hotel. Now, Em, I don't know if you remember this, but I've got a lot of photographs, or some photographs, about our experience at the Apple Farm. I think I might have spoken to you about it a couple days ago, a couple sessions ago. I talked about how when you were a kid, your mom, and I took you to the Apple Farm restaurant. And it's not like this is a big deal or anything, because it's not a big deal. But they have a what I'd call like a water wheel, or they've got it's an imitation water wheel. What do they call those things? What do they call those wheels that, at least in the olden days, used to be a source of energy and would run various machines like mills and gears and things like that, engines and stuff. It's like some kind of water wheel. Anyway, while I was there yesterday, I was kind of reminiscing about how we spent some time there and the photographs that we took. And I remember they had apple cider. I think it might have even been hot apple cider the time that we went some time ago. I mean, we're talking about probably over 10 years ago. Anyway, I was enjoying the flowers. They had orange trees there. And let me tell you, these orange trees smelled really good. They smell like jasmine. In fact, I think I saw a jasmine bush and smelled it, and I just love the smell of it. And I love the smell of the jasmine that, I don't know, that it's not jasmine on an orange tree, but it sure does smell like it. I wonder what the connection between jasmine and orange trees are, because their scents are almost identical, at least from my perspective, what I can make out with my only moderately sensitive sense of smell. But I really had a good time enjoying the vegetation that was on display there. Sheila has a friend who's a landscape architect. Shira is her name. And I've always kind of admired having a job like that because I really like its creativity and its connection to plants, and you know, being part of that agricultural world to me is significant. You know, because plants are such an important part of human being, a person's well-being and their health, and our survival on this planet. I've always thought of agriculture as being a really practical skill, and one I'd like to learn a little bit more about. In fact, I recently heard that Allen Hancock College has a new degree in agribusiness available, a new degree that they're offering. I'm not sure if I think it's probably just an associate's, but that's pretty awesome. I know they've got viticulture classes. I've been thinking about taking a wine class there. They basically have a winery at our local community college, and I thought to myself that it might be a good idea to learn more about wine. Why not? Actually, I would like to learn more about grapes and grape juice, to tell you the truth. In fact, I would guess maybe that could be my base interest. See, wine and drinking it for the alcohol is one thing, but grapes, I think, is an entirely different thing. First of all, I don't know if you've ever tried grape juice. I'm sure you have, but the white grape juice tastes so good, and then purple grape juice tastes fantastic too. It's no mystery to me why people love wine. It's because grape juice tastes so good, both the white and the purple grape juice. In fact, if I had a choice, like if I had a choice, and my only criteria for choosing was how good it tastes, and I had to choose between either drinking white grape juice for the rest of my life or purple grape juice for the rest of my life, I think I would choose white grape juice. That's right. Now, it turns out that I often choose purple grape juice just because it's got the anthocyanins in it, right? It's got those dark pigments that help with oxidative stress. But I much prefer the white grape juice flavor. That white grape juice is out of this world. If you haven't had some white grape juice lately, I suggest you give it a try. It is like stunningly good. And it's no surprise that an entire alcohol industry, wine has been created with that white grape juice as its base because it is stunningly good tasting. Now, I like wine as much as anyone else does. I just don't enjoy it. I mean, I just don't indulge in it. I like grape juice, but there's a problem with alcohol. And I don't necessarily want to get on my soapbox when it comes to drinking alcohol. There is a soapbox in the vicinity. I don't think it's a healthy lifestyle choice. And I also don't think it's a healthy lifestyle choice when used in moderation. Yeah. So, that's one of the reasons. However, just drinking grape juice is a healthy lifestyle choice, and drinking regular grape juice in moderation is a fantastic way to enjoy your grape juice. So, definitely. What I think is kind of funny is that people don't truly recognize, I don't think they truly recognize how alcohol, well, ethanol itself is not a carcinogen. The liver breaks down ethanol into chemicals that are carcinogens. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I think I remember the name. It's acetaldehyde. Yeah. Not good stuff. Not good stuff. So anyway, I actually do have a big old bottle of purple grape juice in my refrigerator right now. And here's the thing about it. It's got a lot of calories. I mean, I love it, but it's got a lot of calories. And I bought it because I'm making smoothies these days, a lot of smoothies. I've been averaging 1 or 2 smoothies a day. That's average. And I first started making smoothies, about last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was probably averaging 3 smoothies a day then. Smoothies of every kind: banana, strawberry, kale, cocoa. I use this unsweetened cocoa. Amazing. An unsweetened cocoa, honey, and soy milk and banana milkshake is amazing. In fact, it is very, very similar to a milkshake. It tastes like a chocolate milkshake. Yeah, especially if you put a lot of sugar in it. And I mean sugar in the form of honey or in the form of molasses or whatever sugar that is available. Even agave syrup, which I tried for the first time like last week. It's pretty good, but I'm also I don't think it's particularly healthy for you. Anyway, so let's see. I I want to let you know that I do my best in our relationship to help you sort of enjoy your life better through my messages and through my content. I hope that you find my efforts meaningful and useful to you. I am always looking to improve my messaging to you, and I'm definitely interested in feedback about your reactions to sort of the content that I am providing to you. Whether I'm interested in things like the content and the mode of transmission, through whether it's letters or videos or text messages or iMovie videos. I'd be interested in hearing your feedback about my impact on you, and whether we're going in the right direction, whether it's working out for you, whether you find it's pleasurable or not. If there are things that I could be doing that I'm not, I'd like to hear about that. If there are things that I am doing that kind of bug you, I'd like to know that too, so that I can make changes and make improvements so that, our time together is as valuable to you as it is to me. Yeah. So let's see, what do I have to look forward to this week? Well, this week I've got an exciting week. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. I have such an exciting week this week. So not only am I working out every day and going to night school, oh my gosh, but I'm also Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm going to be going to a CubeSat satellite convention. So that's going to be amazing. Up in San Luis Obispo. I'll be at Cal Poly 3 days this week, and that's going to be amazing. Really looking forward to that. Looking forward to connecting with other people who are excited and inspired and passionate about technology, and that's great. Really looking forward to that CubeSat convention this week. And then I've got an authentic relating group that I go to Friday night. I'm going to be visiting pretty much most of Friday with Tara Trujillo and her half sister. And that's going to be amazing. I've got so much to do this week. I look ahead and I wonder how I'm going to be able to get it all done, which is good. That's the way you want to build up weeks, right? At least I'm not going to be doing nothing. And then, is anything going on Saturday? What's going on Saturday? Saturday might be a rest day for me, and that would be reasonable because I've got a big week this week. Oh yeah, there's nothing going on this weekend. That's nice. And then the following week, I've got amazing things going on. I got, oh my gosh, so many things. I get my braces looked at next week. And then, of course, I pay my bills. And then there's the science fair, the Lompoc High School Science Fair, which I'm helping to promote. And then I've got the Shebang Music Festival next Saturday. Not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. So the next 2 weeks are just going to be just outstanding in terms of the stuff I got going. And thankfully, I get to bring you along, at least through the magic of electronic gadgetry, through videos and photographs that I take. And so I'm looking forward to doing all that. In fact, now that I think about it, oh yeah. So I'll have time to put together a nice little video on Saturday. It's going to be good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this week. Things are really coming together. My life right now is really amazing. It is truly amazing. And it just strikes me as being, I just am so lucky, so fortunate that things are going as well as they are. I've been lucky enough not to get into a car accident or to get into an airplane crash or anything like that. And I've somehow managed to keep my body healthy, keep my mind healthy. Somehow I've managed to do that. And it's fantastic. So I'm really pleased. Success in life, it's a combination of luck and determination. It's about being active. That's why I think exercise is so important. Really, truly, exercise is one of the most important things that you can do. This human body just doesn't run well. Human lives do not operate if the activity levels are low. That's why people really need to go to the gym. In today's culture, there's just too much inactivity. The inactivity is destroying people's lives. And not only is that happening, but there's this sense, I get this sense that doing less is somehow can lead a person to a happy life. I do not think that that's the case. The people don't actually have to do more, but they have to do a whole lot more than nothing. Or just sitting down watching TV and movies and playing video games all day, that's for sure. Living life is about getting out and doing stuff. And also staying in and doing stuff too. But it's about doing stuff. And also exercising your body. One of the greatest tragedies that I can say that occurred to me in my life was just this lack of a willingness to exercise regularly. I had like spurts in time. Oh, I did when I was younger. When I was a boy, I certainly did exercise all the time. But when I started hitting college, I stopped exercising as much as I should have. I just didn't take it seriously. I did take classes, like I took racquetball classes, I took weightlifting classes, I took running classes. But interestingly enough, it kind of didn't stick. And anyway, I'm gonna take off. I hope you're gonna have a wonderful day today. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I'll talk to you later. All right. Bye bye. Love you, girl.